1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One, two, three, four, 5. One, two, three, 4, 5. Good evening.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well after yesterday, particularly.
Right? That was pretty exciting.
It was.
Yeah.
I have a much stronger opinion of our supervisor than I used to.
Yeah, boy, he was really impressive.
He did a beautiful job yesterday.
He sure did. He's got my vote.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting that he had all of his numbers in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
When he started rattling off how many emails, how many uh, city mayors, and how many mayors of so many cities,
Right.
I think he had pretty much control over what was going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Hi, Victoria.
Hi, Janice. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm glad I can still say that you're Commissioner Carr.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Commissioner Carr in the house. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a very long meeting.
Oh boy.
I was like,
And it
what?
was only half done when we finished.
Yeah. Did you watch the whole thing?
No. But
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
Then I heard COVID, I got off.
a series of more things to deal with. That I saw somewhere that they spent 11 hours at that meeting.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's more than I would be willing to do.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, yeah, that was pretty cool. Pretty cool. I was trying to, right at the end, of course, because I was still at work, I was getting interrupted, and I'm like, I've been waiting for 4.5 hours to hear what they're saying. So I know that at the end, I believe they said it was going to be taken off the table indefinitely, but that doesn't really mean it's not off the table, right? That they're going to come back to it in a year.
Yeah, the basic what they really said in that in his proposed
Very
motion
convoluted motion.
was that
Hey,
it's
Eduardo.
time to do
Hi.
your homework. It's time to do your homework, and when in a year from now, show us what options really need to be looked at. I thought he made an excellent point when he said the auditors nowhere in their documentation talked about anything about consolidation.
Nothing at all.
No, and the big point that I caught my attention was how many mayors of other cities in Santa Clara County said you should not do this.
Yeah.
And so,
Not only that, the fact that they all sign
yes,
which find out later. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, this was for nothing, really.
Right.
Well, and what happened realistically was they hoped originally the fire company, union, I think, hoped this would slide in under the edge of everybody's notice.
Yep, they sure
And
did.
so it would just be something that appeared on the agenda and nobody cared.
Yep.
Once they started getting hundreds of people willing to talk, much
Yep.
less send emails, they realized somebody cared.
Yep.
Cortese was the one that pushed it all the way through. And he's the one that voted no at the end.
Yeah. Well, he was the one who originally proposed this.
Of course.
And what was interesting, he originally proposed it to include South County, and that fell apart.
Yep.
And once it fell apart, it was very difficult to argue, hey, the only city we're going to pick on is this 1% of the population city up in Los
Right.
Angeles.
Right.
So,
It was a money grab, basically.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
and
it was a money grab.
that's
Yep.
politics. That's the way people do things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mostly they do it in such a way that nobody notices it until it's too late.
Right.
And
The
so-
problem, the problem that I see is how is it that this independent analysis of everything will be notified to the people who care?
It's included in the motion that information should be presented to the members of the Los Altos Hills community.
Okay, well, hopefully it will happen that way.
Well, that's why we need to keep watching.
That's right.
That's
That's right.
the thing that you're right. Everybody thinks they've done it. Oh, we've taken care of it. There's going to be any problem.
Yeah.
And then while the cat's away, the mice will play type thing.
That's right.
Yes, that's exactly right.
So, but I thought it was interesting because in many ways, but the one that caught my attention most was how surprised the
There
rest
you
of the commissioners were, supervisors, when so many people started saying things.
Yeah.
It was commented that this one had the most commentary from the public of anything they can remember.
Yep.
And they have had a lot of people unhappy in the past, but this one stood out. And
I
Exactly.
think a lot of the reason is that they advertised to the town residents what was going to happen and what they could do about it.
And particularly the union advertised to the town and made people realize what was coming.
Yeah, it was actually the union.
Well, there's
Right.
there's
It was.
a piece of this puzzle that we have to really watch because it was commented on yesterday. And that is, this only applies to the existing board.
Yeah,
And the
right.
existing board changes in what, November 3rd?
Yep.
Because the
Oh.
South County guy turns out it's on November 3rd, if I heard right.
Yep. Cortese times out.
Yeah. So at any rate, the bottom
No.
line is we have some room to maneuver in. And the real question is going to end up being, if I heard correctly, Mountain View and Palo Alto fire departments realistically consider them to be want to be part of a consolidated fire system. If that statement holds up, LEFCO, which is the local area, I used to know it, but it basically is all of the counties around the Bay Area in a single organizational structure that oversees how this sort of stuff is done the same way the supervisors look over a county. The LEFCO looks over the whole bay.
Right.
So they're going to have a chance to look at what Santa Clara County Fire is doing. Well, all of Santa Clara County Fire response. That includes all of the city units and the Cal Fire, all of the various groups. That's going to be, if they do that right, that's going to be a very interesting study.
Could be.
Interesting
Hi,
that you may
Doris.
live in interesting times, maybe. But,
Hi,
oh,
Doris. How are you?
I'm fine. Did you start early or are you having a different meeting?
No,
Yeah,
we're just
different.
kind of just chatting
Just
before the
chatting.
week's on. Yeah, you're more than welcome to hang out and listen to our humble opinions. We're just
Yeah.
going over the Board of Soups meeting yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Did you get a
Yeah.
chance to watch it, or did you know about what was going on?
About the fire department consolidation. I
Yeah.
didn't get it. I mean, I've been following it, but I
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
go to the meeting yesterday.
Well, it was very long,
Oh,
but very
very
good.
long.
Yeah.
Very
So
long.
it was pretty good. So I know you guys mentioned Cortese was going to be ending his term, right? So
Turn 'em out.
is anyone else going to be leaving?
No, that's it. That's the only one.
Okay. So does that mean this can go back again in front of the board in another month and a half?
if somebody were
It
to
could.
find enough both fault and change of attitude by people on the board, but
Right.
Right.
at the end of yesterday's motion, the rest of the people seem to be comfortable with waiting to get information before you make the move. And
Yeah,
that-
and the difficulty with that is that it would be 5 or more years before it
Yeah.
happens.
well, you can call it difficulty, or you can say that gives us 5 years to wait. But that's good because they did comment on that, how
Yeah.
long it takes for that to happen. But I think there's a fair amount of push going on in this now, and it will be probable that we're going to be at least under a microscope, if nothing else. At least, not, thank goodness, not a knife, but just a microscope for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. As far as CERT goes, I mean, we're pretty low maintenance, right? I mean, we're pretty cool with
Oh,
we've been
yeah.
with the budget. We're not, doing anything crazy. We're rejuvenating and, doing more trainings and trying to get more involvement and recruitment. So I think we'll be okay in our little realm of the world.
Sure.
One area that's probably going to be under some serious reconsideration is the wood chipping and tree removal.
Yeah.
But that raised some concerns that I think still remain.
Yeah.
And so it won't be, it's not going to be status quo. It's going to have to be reevaluated, but at least not today.
Right. Yes.
Not
for
today.
sure.
Not today.
Not today.
Mañana.
I also liked that Cindy Chavez seemed very surprised to hear that the community education component of fire prevention was not really addressed in the audit, and that
At
the
all.
thing she was hearing, the thing she was hearing about, people being upset that those kind of programs are not, going to be supported well, because we've already seen how well they're supported through the county fire department. I saw she was very shocked at that. I don't think that was something that even kind of went into her mind or that she had thought about. So I was really happy that so many people brought that up and said, we've already been, having some of our community education things taken over, and it just, didn't go well. And so that was really, I like to see that part, because I think that is a huge part of any kind of fire protection program.
The thing that we didn't find that out until later was that all the fire hydrants belong to the fire department
The fire commission.
and the fire commission.
Yeah, the
So,
district, yeah.
The district, and they don't belong to Purisima.
No,
They don't. Yeah, we knew that. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, that it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. You have the responsibility to make sure that those fire hydrants they have the proper water
Yep.
pressure, the proper connection. I mean, you have to do it.
Yeah. Right.
but if you're a flatlander, you don't think of that as an issue. You don't realize that you have, what was it, 700 pounds per square inch was the water leading up
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
the skyline.
Yep.
That's not a situation that occurs in Mountain View, for example.
Not at all.
And so those special systems that are unique to mountain territory are very out of the ordinary compared to most of the flatland people, particularly South County.
Yeah.
How come
Yeah.
South
Yeah.
County was taken off the list? They never, when I got in to listen, I couldn't hear anybody saying why South County had withdrawn the push for consolidation.
Because it was an afterthought. It was actually a recommendation that was put on, and I don't know if it was the auditor or the fire department that put that in as a consideration,
Okay,
but nothing else.
yeah, and
Yeah, I think Cal Fire had some, I know Denise will be hopping on in a couple minutes. She might have some insight into that. I believe that Cal Fire wrote some letters and showed their, their kind of their concerns about that, specific to conjoining with the, with County Fire. And there was something else they had brought up too. So I think that whatever letter was sent, it was very compelling. So yeah, it was interesting to see. That was sort of a huge change. I thought it was really cool when Semidian said, well, they were recommended to be consolidated at multiple audits, but and then here's little Los Altos Hills over here, little tiny Los Altos Hills. All of a sudden, we're talking about them. So I think he just did a fabulous job. I was really excited. Hi, John. How are you?
Hey, Victoria, how are you?
I'm good. I think the debate tonight is going to have us have some low attendance. I don't really have a whole lot planned for tonight. It was more like a check-in, kind of a debrief after our, traumatic, long, but with a great outcome day we had yesterday. So, we're just kind of chit-chatting about that. I think Denise is going to come on and she can probably answer some questions if you guys have any. I was just going to, kind of go over where we're at now. I think you and I are going to need to go down to that trailer at some point in the next week or so, so we had an interaction. I was telling the cars this, kind of a interesting interaction with a couple of the fire guys there when I went there with my husband. There's feelings about the trailer being there, and they feel frustrated and not super happy that they are being requested to do things on the trailer. I'm not sure how that happened or how that developed over there. So I'm hesitant to ask them for any kind of help. We were kind of treated pretty rudely by one of the firefighters there. It's okay now. There was, we know some captains that work at El Monte, and we kind of talked with them a little bit, and they kind of called over there and said, hey, we need to be professional. And so I hesitate to ask them anything about.
Is that City of Los Altos Loyola, or is it LAHCFT?
Was the trailer at Loyola Station.
That's what I'm asking. Is Loyola Station a City of Los Altos fire station?
I believe it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somehow long ago, somebody got them to agree to hold the trailer there. Do you know the history of that?
Do you?
I do not know.
I can offer a bit of that. That goes back to Mike Sanders and the original formation of the program. I remember when the first trailer discussion that Mike had, in his inimitable way, started talking to the people there, and it was interesting. Janice and I went in one day to look at the trailer, and we got no sooner past the gate than one of the firemen came out and asked who we were.
Yeah.
Once I told them that, hey, we're CERT people coming down to see how the trailer is doing, he was very effusive, very friendly, very happy about its presence, but that's years ago. And what I'm picturing, based on what I'm hearing, is that it's been too long. We haven't had
We haven't had
the
anything.
outgoing
Right.
type
Right.
of outreach that Mike
Yeah.
used to do on a monthly or weekly basis. And we have a new group of firemen who never had
Yeah.
the positive side of this brought to their attention, and somebody had a bad day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think at least that's my reading of it.
Yeah.
Where is the trailer, Victoria? Is it behind the station?
Yeah. It's
Fire
behind the
station?
station. Yeah. It's sort of,
Ah,
Out of sight.
yeah.
in the
And it's
road.
Yeah.
not in a really great spot because, they pull the engine out. And so there's really a small kind of area to try and get the trailer out if they've got the engine pulled out. So, I think what I'm going to do next time is get the number and call them and just say, hey, tomorrow we're going to be there from this
yeah,
time.
yeah.
At El Monte, since I know most of them, all the captains there, I don't get a lot of grief. It's not, and I've offered to say, hey, when I come in and out of the classroom, do you want me to tell you? And they're like, oh no, you're fine. But yeah, Loyola's not. The first couple times I went there, I knew the fire crews and it was all good, but I didn't know any of these guys. So I think that was definitely an eye opener for us. And I'm like, okay, next time we have to really sort of like let them know. So I'm going to do some figuring out who's there at what shifts, and then I will call over there and just kind of give them a heads up.
I have a question.
Go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there a reason why we would not want to have that trailer up where the ark is?
I've thought about that, why it is at Loyola. Denise, do you have any? Hi, Denise, by the way.
Everybody, I'm gonna say to spread out equipment.
What is it?
Yeah, to spread out the
So that
equipment.
equipment's not stacked next to each other and it's spread around the district. Carl, hold on. Let me go out to my car. My
Okay.
internet's bad in here, so I think
Okay.
it's to spread the equipment out though, so it's not
Yeah.
all in one location. So that if there's an emergency and you can't get around to
Yeah,
the trailer,
You're
or to the.
perfect. You're perfect now.
Oh, am I? I'll just sit outside then.
Yeah, you
Oh,
said.
okay.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's just proximity of equipment, so it's not
Yeah.
all around in one place, so that if you can't get to it, or people that don't have to go all the way up to Foothill College, if
Right.
it's easier to go down to Loyola Station.
Much
Um,
easier for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I think
There's
that's
another part
why.
to that. At least when it was first put there, it was explained that there was real concern that the freeway overpasses, there were very few ways you could get to the golf course area
Mm,
from on the other side of the freeway, and it was at least reasonable to have a second
Yeah.
system that could be almost immediately available to that area, which is so far from the existing location.
yeah.
Although I will tell you that right inside that gate is where the arc is for Los Altos City. So the CERTs for Los Altos City, their arc, they have a giant arc, not 500 feet from our little trailer.
Oh, in the courtyard, Denise?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I
Huge,
think I
like
saw it. Yeah.
like a
it's
double
giant.
wide. Yeah.
Yeah, really big. I saw it when
Yeah.
we went. So the courtyard was awesome because we had 2 flat tires. So we basically, yeah, that was a surprise.
Yeah.
So we walked over and we're like, hey, can you just help us? They were fabulous, so helpful. One of our tires had a stem that was not working, and that was what led to one of the tires going flat. They called over to the gas station. They sent me over there. They gave one for free. Here's a tire stem, and they helped us pump up all the other tires and change a tire out. So we changed the spare out. So yeah, they were amazing. I wrote a nice email to their manager. I sent them some goodies the next day, as a thank you, and they really saved us like big time. So
That was a nice gesture.
oh, they were just they didn't even hesitate. So yeah, it was really, really cool. So I let Ann know, and she hooked me up with their manager and stuff. And I just said, you really were spectacular, great customer service. We're not even, they have nothing to really do with it, but it was like so awesome. So yeah. So I think what we'll do, and John, you and I can come up with a time frame maybe next week that we want to try and go over there. I'm going to try and get a hold of the captain there and just say, hey, that we're going to come out there, work on it.
Hi, Dave.
Want to give him a heads up. Hi, Dave. How are you?
Doing fine.
Awesome.
Rosa,
Hi,
By
Joe.
by the way, did you guys, Larry, Victoria, and Dave, got all my emails that I sent out by any chance?
What were they regarding? That would help me.
They're regarding the recon.
Recon cert. Yeah, they're in my in queue. Haven't been read yet.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure. And because I had to put Larry Carr's names on it there too.
Well, I'm going to assume from Dave got it that I got it. So I don't know.
You have it. You have it.
I'll have to look. I don't see anything. Okay, I'll have to look back.
It's on your
Through my email.
Gmail
Yeah.
account. Okay.
My Gmail?
Gmail.
Oh, I never checked that. I will start to do that.
Different.
Ah, okay. Thank you. I was like, I don't see it. Okay, cool. It just, really light tonight. I know a lot of people are going to be watching the debate. So, we just wanted to kind of, we started already a little early debriefing about last night or yesterday. Sorry, it felt like last night when it ended, but I guess it was still all the time. And sort of, where we're going to go from here, only up from here, right? So, did you guys have any questions for Denise? She's much better talking about these things than I am. No, you really are. She just explains things so well, and I don't always do that. So when it comes to these kind of questions, I like to go to the better talker, the better explainer. I know Jay had to be out of town, or she would have been here. So Denise very kindly, and thank you for going to the ECC meeting, Denise. I've been fighting a migraine, so I wasn't on my game yesterday. I still have it, so I'm not really on my game tonight either, but here we are. So does anyone have any comments or questions? Hi, Drew.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
That's okay. Any questions for
Victoria, why don't I
Denise?
just give a really quick overview really quick,
Beautiful.
and then if there's anything that anybody has specific questions, and this is just a very generic overview. So over 136 residents spoke in opposition to the proposal to the Board of Supervisors for consolidation and suspension of the authority of the Los Altos Hills County Fire District at the meeting yesterday afternoon. Started approximately 1:30. I was on since 9:30 when they talked about the South County Fire District was removed from the agenda. It was item 17. Completely for consolidation, which was interesting that it was on the agenda and it was completely removed.
Right.
So they were off consolidation right away. So that just left them a little bit mentioned in the audit report, and then us and Central Fire, County Fire, Santa Clara County Fire left in the other two item, basically 16 and 18 were the main items. So many letters were also sent in from surrounding cities, from former mayors, elected officials, firefighter representatives that also opposed consolidation. And one of the interesting ones that ended up sort of being an ally was the chief of the CAL FIRE unit. He sent a report about he was talking about the South County consolidation issue and their union president, but the way that it was handled, the timing, and the lack of public involvement. So that actually worked out for our benefit for that. So Supervisor Joe Simidian authored basically a motion. Mike Wasserman seconded it, and they accepted basically the two audits, and they opposed the consolidation. But the caveat is they want to continue a further study, an evaluation of countywide fire services by County Fire and a future LAFCO review. The only supervisor that opposed it was Dave Cortese. And originally going into this, we honestly only had Joe Simidian. Ellinger was on the fence, or Ellenberg was on the fence and leaning towards consolidation. Wasserman was on the fence and possibly leaning towards consolidation. Cindy Chavez and Dave Cortese were absolutely for consolidation. So really all of your comments, all of the passion that the residents of Los Altos Hills brought, I could see Cindy Chavez's mind changing as she heard residents speaking. Because I think someone fed them information, because they've never been very proactive as a board of supervisors around fire, wildland fire, fire plans, all of that. So I think somebody was in their ear. Joe Samidian said it very well at the end. You know, he mentioned, if not these things, then it only comes down to a grab for taxpayer money in Los Altos Hills. They're 1% of the total population, less than 1% of the total population of the county of Santa Clara. And yet you're going after them as a very small district versus South Santa Clara County Fire District, which is 20% of the population, and they were taken off the agenda. So that kind of, kind of summarizes what he kind of finally said. And then the clincher, and Dave had brought this up too in his representation of the minute speech, is the 14.1 from the agreement in 2017 was that they actually said, and Dave Cortese, ironically, was the president of the Board of Supervisors at the time, when they signed the new contract for service with County Fire, that they would do exactly what they weren't doing, is taking for consolidation without a vote of the public, the residents of Los Altos Hills. So that was kind of the clincher, in that really we're going to do this after you all signed this and you all agreed to this. Also, there's an article in the Town Crier by Megan Winslow that will, kind of summarize this too. So we're working on so moving forward, our fire district will be working with county council, because that was one of the concessions. We gave up. Dan Siegel has been our longtime representative. He is no longer retained, and we now have a member of county council that we retain. And we'll be working to finish up our strategic plan, which we're in the process of doing, and then get back on programs, because honestly, everything has been on hold since May. Originally, we gave all the concessions they had asked for. That we thought this was going away, and then all of a sudden in the last 2 months, it became, they're going to do this and they're going to consolidate us. And that was where it was really going. And we literally had to put almost everything we did, because of the need to put staff hours towards this management audit, into the management audit. So I apologize for the delay. We were hoping to roll a lot more programs out and be a lot further ahead in our goals and objectives for Los Altos Hills around especially wildfire management. Fortunately, Victoria's been able to keep CERT moving forward, but even that, we were going, what is that going to look like? Because County Fire doesn't do any management of CERT. So anyhow, I'm really happy the way it turned out. So we will continue to go along as we're going. I'm really in support of having hopefully some meetings at the table that will look at some plans, so that we don't have to worry about this showing up again in a year, because they said to do a year of these meetings and get this independent counsel. I don't know if that's even possible. It may end up being something like a task force, because I don't know if there's really an entity out there that can do what they're asking. But we'll see, so I'm there's always good things that come out of this. So the biggest thing is thank you for the community involvement. And then the other thing is, let's take this momentum, because everybody knows about Los Altos Hills County Fire District now. Let's take this momentum and really make some really good changes in Los Altos Hills around your safety, bettering your community, and your needs specifically. So
Denise,
that's all I have. Yes.
they kept throwing around the acronym LAFCO. What is LAFCO?
Yeah, let me give you what LAFCO stands for. I don't remember offhand. Let me give it to you. I have it in my email that I put together.
It's local agency something
Yeah.
formation.
And LAFCO has been looking at fire departments and how they do business for years. They've actually, been the ones that have been the main driver of consolidation in Santa Clara County for years.
So they're not necessarily truly independent.
No, 2 board supervisors sit on it, 2 or 3.
Okay.
So it's made up of a group of people inside Santa Clara County, Local Agency Formation Commission. So local
Okay,
agency,
that
and
sounds governmental.
yeah, each county basically has one. Like Santa Cruz County has a LAFCO.
Everybody has it. Candles,
Everybody, yeah, New York City
Santa
has a
Clara,
LAFCO.
New
You
York,
know,
yeah,
yeah,
candle sale,
yeah.
soap.
So it's a government entity basically that takes certain people in certain roles, puts them together, and has them be a governing unit. So yes, you know, we're kind of have more of the same. I will say that Cortese is in his last, I think, 60 days or whatever. I think he's up for election in this next election.
No.
So
He terms out. He terms out at
okay, he
the
turns out.
November 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, he was our one no vote ultimately.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what other turnover is coming up, but you know, he was the only no vote at this point. So that helps, I think, long term.
We're losing you,
He's
Denise. We're
not going to be on
losing you.
LAFCO though. Have a good awareness of what, sorry, they're now educated. So that's all I have. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one, Denise. Actually, I have a quick one and a quick plus. One, do we know why the South County disappeared suddenly with no discussion? And two, but more importantly, there was a fellow who spoke who was like the county CERT person or something. And I was wondering if you could say a couple words about what that person's role is and what the relationship of our group would be to him. But I was just curious as to why all of a sudden South County disappeared with no discussion. Why? You know, the why part.
Oh, yeah, very interesting what happened. I heard there was a lot of late night meetings that happened the 2 days before. There were letters. If you haven't read the letters, I can give you those that came from the Santa Clara County unit chief and the labor union chief. Very scathing letters.
Wow.
Those showed up Friday night for me, late Friday night. So I don't know, but very interesting. You know, that and that was one of the items brought up out of the 6 reports that have been around Los Altos Hills over the last however many years. They've never mentioned consolidation in any of those reports. Although in past audits, they have mentioned that for South Santa Clara County many times, several times. So if anybody were to be a candidate for consolidation, I think that what they were seeing is if County Fire were overseeing them, County Fire used to be in Morgan Hill, that would open up the door for them not to have contract renewal in 2023. So I think that that's one of the things they're fighting for is existence. Pretty tooth and nail. I think they pulled out their heavy political guns. I think Cortese is running for Senate at some point, I heard. So I don't know what bigger fish are going to be fried politically down the road. So that's my only thing. Is the CERT person you're talking about, was that Cole Cameron?
Yes.
Yeah.
I looked him up. He's active in a bunch of places.
Yeah, Cole's really active. In fact, I just talked to Cole on the phone today. He's a Los Altos, I'm sorry, Campbell CERT. He's retired vet, so he's very involved with vets, Team Rubicon, and Cadre Spiritual Care. So he just does a lot of volunteering. He was at one point a CERT instructor for San Jose out of their Evergreen. But he's honestly just a very involved volunteer.
Oh, it came across, I mean, I interpreted it as that he would have some sort of a county level function with CERT, but I
think he's on some kind of board. He does get involved in Cadre, but he doesn't really have, other than the vet, he is very involved in the vet programs, veterans for the county, but he's on some committees with San Jose because he's in the unincorporated. So he has done a lot. He's in the unincorporated part of Campbell. So he's done a lot with San Jose and the Board of Supervisors to get funding for the unincorporated Campbell, San Jose area.
Yeah.
So I apologize for my bad sound.
That's all right. Yeah, I just was kind of interesting since there was 12 or 1,300 Los Altos Hills people that raised heck, and then they have late night meetings and suddenly they fall off the agenda. That's what just was curious to me. So
Yeah, and the fact that nobody noticed that agenda item because they're printed a week ahead of time, right? Where they
yeah.
have to be put in the newspaper. So
Yeah,
the fact that Cortese and Wasserman didn't realize that that was going on shows you that somebody saw that and went, oh, there's implications to that.
yeah,
Because it was on that agenda for over a week publicly.
yeah,
So anyhow, that's,
yeah.
um,
Well,
so-
I think that Los Altos Hills should be proud of itself. They're all rallied, no matter where you were, South End, North End, in an agency, not in an agency. That was, I think Ben Hu and I were figuring it was like 25% of the probably adult population of the town. So,
and to really not even have a single person want consolidation. Because
Yeah.
I was telling people, I don't care if you vote for or against consolidation, just be aware of what the implication is. Be
Yeah.
aware of what's going on. You make up your own mind as to what you think is best. I think good things could come out of consolidation, but not the way they're doing it.
Yeah.
Not this way, not defunding the board. I mean, not taking authority away from the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's never going to work because that's the control you need to keep it local. But there's a lot of ways the county could be helping Los Altos Hills in their fuel issues. They've never stepped in because they've always gone, oh, Los Altos is doing good because they have their own board that's taking
Yeah.
care of everything. So they've been very hands off because of that. And
Oh,
your
one-
proximity in the western corner.
One quick question is my neighbor, Martha Bowden, she's also been with CERT, not recently so much, but you had a comment that 280 was the buffer zone, and when we were
Oh
talking.
yeah,
to
that was my red herring. Did you like
Yeah.
my red herring I threw in?
Yeah, but I want to know where the rest of the fish is. Is there no buffer zone on Skyline?
So it's not considered. CAL FIRE would have drawn the line at 35 if they felt it was a strong enough line.
Oh,
So that's been my contention to the County Board of Supervisors. It's like, well, I haven't heard you address the fact that in every daily incident action plan, IAP, every 12 hours a new one's produced, and in every objective, the containment lines were Highway 1 to the west, Highway 84 to the north, Highway 17 to the south, and Highway 280 to the east. Well, there's a lot of property from Skyline to 280
yeah.
that they were willing
Like
to
the
write
whole
off
town.
in a public document. That was in a published public document every single day, you guys. And why
Wow.
did someone at the County Board of Supervisors didn't stand up and go, oh my goodness, this is not okay.
Yeah.
Not okay. So,
Okay.
my call to action of the Board of Supervisors, I didn't know if anybody would even catch it, is to either shade a fuel break or make 35 a stronger fuel break, or cut a fire break line where you
Yeah.
actually go through and take a PG&E road. Yes, it's not going to be pretty. Yes, the environmentalists are going to hate it, but I'm sorry, 280 and sacrificing the whole west side of 280 is not an acceptable option.
Well,
That's
I
not
think the
an acceptable
insurance
management line.
I think the insurance companies have been reading it because two of my neighbors have just lost their insurance. So,
Well, I was just dropped by my third insurance company in 7 years. So,
Wow. yeah.
and never filed a claim, never been late. But that's up in the mountains. That's my third company. About every 2 years, I get dropped. So I'm down to the fair plan.
Yeah.
So-
Well, I think there's an earthquake fault up at Mid-Peninsula Regional Park. They could just follow that line and make a fire break.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously that's going to take a lot of, because that's, crossing into, open space, county lines. I mean, there's a
Ladera.
whole bunch of language, but that's the kind of stuff the Board of Supervisors should be addressing, not taking
Exactly.
over Los Altos Hills, who's running a brush vegetation management program and the chipping program, some sporadic programs to help with tree management that we'd like to do more of that are called
Yeah.
out as illegally using taxpayer dollars. We had
Right.
3 law firms say that was not illegal use of taxpayers. And that is the thing I literally get 3 or 4 calls a week on a neighbor saying another neighbor has a dead tree. And what can I help them do with it? And there is really nothing, because out of the respect for your home is your castle, your property is your kingdom, you know, I can't start going on and, you know, telling people how to do vegetation management. Yes, it's for a good reason, but there's nothing in place right now for that. So those are the types of things countywide, they can help make those kinds of legislations and those ordinances that will help us. You know,
Yeah.
that's the type of thing we need help with. We don't need them coming in and grabbing and taking away and breaking down and tearing apart.
Right.
So anyhow.
And well, that's good, Denise.
Did I
Thank
sound
you.
a little passionate?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. By the way, it went well with my neighbor and her trees. We got like a couple $100, you know, like we chipped it, but we had a whole street full of just dead stuff from the pine trees. So
Yeah, good.
But I
Anyhow,
mean,
any other questions? I totally appreciate everybody stepping up, writing letters, signing petitions. They were amazed that a petition could get signed that quickly with so many signatures in such a short period of time. So, you know.
I have a question.
Yeah, Shel.
I made some statements, and I'm not, 100% sure about the veracity of what I was saying. But I was pretty sure that the supervisors knew even less than I did.
Yeah.
But what I was saying was that didn't County Fire take over? Was it in County Fire that took over a CERT program for a while?
Well,
Oh, yeah.
they've
Yeah.
always paid the position that Mike had. They've always been the person who made the payment, because you had no employees for the fire district. So they had no way to pay that employee.
The fire district paid for the county fire to have
Correct.
it. Okay.
Correct. But County Fire did the actual payroll for that. But that was completely reimbursed by the fire district.
Yeah.
So County Fire has never managed.
No.
So because that's what I said. I said
you were correct. You were correct.
That totally mismatched, but nobody called me on it. So
you were correct.
Actually, you were more correct than the county guys. So
Yeah.
But it sounded like, so I was trying basically, and I was saying that the county fire, they train firefighters. They do good at that, but they don't do emergency preparedness or fire prevention or any of that stuff. So it's kind of two totally different deals. They complement each other, but county fire doing this stuff here, what the fire district does is as ridiculous as fire district training firefighters.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is because Los Altos Hills has been a model and done so well at a lot of this. County Fire has not had to step in and do a lot.
But would County Fire even, it's like, the chief there, he was saying, well, we just going to look at organizational efficiency. Organizational efficiency for CAL FIRE is just kind of where he puts people and so on, and put the resources. But that doesn't do anything for us. They're almost mutually.
Yeah, and then also, County Fire is not even doing the CERT program. It lives under OEM.
Yeah, so that would be, a lot of things will fall flat on the ground if County Fire took over it. And that's kind of, they do an organizational chart. They'll draw in, CERT, coordinator, whatever. But we know how that is up.
Yeah, I agree. Centralization definitely has its benefits, but it definitely has its deficits also. Personalized service is one of the things that goes out with centralization.
Yep. And I thought Supervisor Simitian said, well, he said, like, look, these are County Fire staff, and they're already there, and they're, so all the coordination is already on the fire level.
Already there.
Firefighting level is already happening. It's just fire district do the other things that county fire doesn't do. Even if we consolidate, they still wouldn't do it, or certainly wouldn't do it well. I think we have a chance now to kind of hammer that home. We need to do that because this is going to come back again. And I don't know how long we can keep Joe Simidian before he's turned out. Because without him being he put super and supervisor. He's awesome. And next person might not be. We have no idea. So this might have to be fought again, or will have to be fought again. So we just really need to make sure that it's every day we got to kind of think about this.
Yeah. And I think one of the really other good things that came out of this is there's been a lot of support from the town for the district, and a lot of relational improvements since Jay's been there, Jay Logan. So I think that we keep making that stronger and stronger and get in alignment. Then you have more synergy of efforts, and you have more consistency of messaging and more support at the table. So I think that also, with the support of the residents, is the key to moving forward, because there was really a siloing before. Los Altos town had its thing. The district really had no staff, so they kind of did their thing, so they are a little bit of staff, not a lot, and that's obviously helping having some consistent staff to get some motion. So
yeah.
I think that's another, because they sent a lot of letters out that got those people to the table yesterday, or to the microphone.
Yeah, the town should have all these years been proactive about this, and it wasn't until it was really really at the 11th hour they finally kicked it in gear. Very reactive. They need to be proactive going forward. I think it serves us well to always draw a distinction between what the county fire does and what the fire district provides, and how complementary they are, and how county fire, they just only do firefighting. And the fire district, we're dependent on the independent fire district to provide all the other things. Otherwise, we'll lose it all. So that needs to be an education that should be ongoing.
Yeah, and that's definitely, something that we know we have struggled with in our strategic plan is the branding of the fire district. Getting what is the fire district? A lot of people didn't even know what it was, because it has been a little bit behind the scenes and under the radar in just contracting with county fire for those emergency responses, and then doing some of the programs like the chipping and some of the one-time only type programs. So yes, moving forward, absolutely. There's no such thing as bad press, right? So we got a lot of free press out of some bad press, but I think we can take it to our advantage.
Oh yeah, no.
I don't want to take up Victoria's time anymore.
Yeah.
So I'll throw back to Victoria. So if there's.
No, we're all done. Thank you for everything you guys did.
Yes,
that was fantastic. Hi, Victoria.
Hi, Shell. Yeah, Denise, thank you for that great overview and all the awesome question answering that you provided to us tonight. I know that we might have more questions come up, and we can definitely, if you guys have any questions, feel free to email Denise and I, and if we want to talk offline, that's fine too. Just really quick before we time out, I think Dave Stewart has some vest info. If you guys look in the chat, we've got 2 links for you. The first link is to download a PDF with the name tags that he's created for CERT. And we have actual, I'll let him talk about more because he's the kind of the guru in it, but we have some name tags for you guys, and the larger ones I think you guys are familiar with, that he showed you with the larger names and things like that, which I think are awesome, especially in a large event. And then I have also a link to sign up for seeing the the Google form. So it's up above. Do you guys see it from me?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see the login form.
Yeah.
where is the login form?
It's
If,
7:35 p.m.
if
It's
people
in the
sign
chat.
on late, if people sign on late, they won't be able to see the chat until the time they signed on. So maybe put it out again.
I just sent it 4 minutes ago. So just scroll up a little bit, Eduardo. Do you see it?
Victoria, I'm on my iPhone, so can I access this tomorrow when I have a computer available? My husband's watching the debates and stuff, so.
Yeah, that's fine. You know what I'll do is I'll send out the link by email.
Okay.
That way, if you're having a hard time finding it right now, then yeah. Yeah, I learned that lesson the hard way, Denise, about at the very end. So Dave, go ahead. Away.
Okay. So can you let me share screen, Victoria? So one of my personal jihads here has been to make better name tags. I think, well, I'm at least getting older, and seeing all these little tiny name tags on people's vests was not cutting it for me. So let's see if I got the right thing here. That looks right. What I did, can you guys see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay. So I wrote a program that creates badges for people. And this is the CERT badge on the left, in Drew's case here, and an ECC badge on the right. There's a bunch of things going on here with the logos. I want to credit, oh God, I'm forgetting his name now. Steve Kellum for redoing the CERT logo with the horse on it and no skyscrapers. Your zone numbers up here, and certain qualifications show up, like the fact that Drew, as a CERT, is a member of the ECC and Recon and is a supervisor. And then in her ECC badge, she also shows up as a CERT and a Recon. So everybody for whom Marcia gave me a picture should be in here. Depending on if you're really new, you might not exist. But I'd like everyone to download this, because the other thing that Victoria and I have been working on, let me stop sharing screen so you can actually see the camera work a little better, is we have these larger, they're actually passport holders, but they're clear plastic things with some clips on the top, and the things on the bottom may not be obvious. What they are is a little bit of metal inside the badge holder, and then a set of magnets. See how close I can go, and oh, that's actually going to focus.
Beautiful.
Okay, so that sticks together, and this, you know, solves all my personal bugaboos, which I hate badges that flop around, and this will actually stick it to your vest if you put this down in the bottom. So these are available to everybody. The name tags are available at that link that we posted. And Eduardo, how many of these do you have left? A few?
I think I have 3 or 4 of them, whatever it is.
Yeah. So if you want one, I can either just leave these out by my house and people can come get them. Or if you want, you can send me an email. For people who've been getting vests for the last couple of days, I've been including them. So, but the idea here is that you download the name tag PDF, find your page. You only have to print your page, not all 50 pages. Stick it in the slot here at the top, close it up, clip this thing onto probably one of those, I think they're called like microphone straps. There's little gray bits on the vest. So everyone, you're welcome to pick these things up.
Dave, I already got my Bob and my vest. But is there a place I can get those, or are you going to order any more?
You got those, Drew. I dropped them over.
The
Yeah, I
vests
think
I have, but it's the plastic thingies in them?
The plastic thing also with your name, with everything on it.
yeah, Eduardo did this for most of the ECC. For the certs,
Oh, okay.
you may need to come to my house to get them. But
Oh, yeah, I think it's
Victoria
just Sam
ordered
and Dave
100 of
Gilmore that don't have it.
Victoria ordered 100 of all these for us, so I have a large stash.
Oh. Yeah, I just didn't see it, so maybe it's in the pocket.
Yep.
Where'd you put it, Eduardo? In the pocket?
I gave them to you.
Big
You
bag
did?
of
Put them in the
magnets.
pocket? I'm not sure.
No, you gave me the. Well, I wasn't here. Fern was here.
No, you were there.
Was?
You were just arrived.
Oh, well, that may explain a lot.
All right, we'll let Drew do her search and rescue for the
Search and rescue, right?
CERT tag. Anything else, Dave, on the vests that you want to update us on?
Just that there are a few people on this list who have not even responded to my email about picking up their vests. And what I've been doing is I've been sending email out to people saying the vests are available. The way I'd like to do this is just let me know that you're going to come. I'll typically I put the vests in a paper bag, put them out beside my garage door for no contact pickup, and give you instructions on where I live and the rest of that kind of stuff. So if you haven't got your vest yet, respond to my email, tell me when you'd like to come pick it up, and I'll make you your vest, your size, the name tag, but I don't want to print out all 100 name tags and put those together.
Yeah.
So I'll leave that as an exercise to the certs themselves.
Yep.
That's it.
Good plan. I like the no contact delivery. That's very professional.
Thank you.
Excellent service. Do we want to do an end date and move the vest to the ARC at some point so that you can have this be over for you? at
Well,
some
so
level?
I've already moved, I think, a little less than half, like a third of the vest to the ARC. So there's a big stash in the ARC. I kept, I think it was a dozen or so in various sizes for the people who needed to come in. So now it's just one box in my dining room instead of 4 boxes in my dining room. So I can do this indefinitely until I run out of sizes.
Okay, cool.
All right.
All right. Well, that sounds awesome. Thank you very much. While you're out and about picking up your name tag holder from Dave, Mr. and Mrs. Carr.
There you go. Drew has it.
Wow. So, Mary, would you like to speak on that?
Yeah, I figured out where my mute button is, so I think I'm going to be able to do it. For some of you, you've already picked up the binder that we have created for Recon. For the other people in Recon, what we've created holds all of the infrastructure maps and the instructions for infrastructure surveying. And then I realized that this was an opportunity, if I could put it together in time, for you to also get a first draft of what a recon manual would be. And so I created a document that includes all of the procedures from the moment the ground shakes to the moment you arrive at the ARC. This does include procedures for how do you check in on the net, or even how do you run the net, and a variety of other instructions. It's a first draft, so please understand that we can polish it, but I want your input so that we make sure it is logical to everyone who reads it and that we haven't left something out. So it's at our house. We have it for the original people who were on the Recon Net, but I think we'll be making additional copies for others who would like to get a set. This has in it, it's total of about 50 pages. So I think it's something you probably would like to pick up rather than print. But at the same time, I wanted to make sure everyone knew it was available. Questions at this point or comments, either one?
Hey, Larry,
Yeah.
I noticed 520 was duplicated on the binder that you gave me this afternoon. So this this page was duplicated.
Ah,
So that's okay. I got it out.
okay. Yeah, this is part of what, this is a first cut. Now, my real point in here is I had this idea last Wednesday and said, you know, I ought to put this information in front of everyone quickly. And so what you are seeing is I grabbed this from one section, I grabbed that from another section, I copied this from somewhere else. So please, if you, I want to get your reactions to what's in it, how you would like to see it when it's finished, because it's definitely a work in progress.
Hey, Larry, remember about a year or so ago, I think you and I were working, is that another, like a stepchild of what we were doing a year or so ago? Remember?
Well, we have in the ARC an instruction procedure for recon once everyone arrives at the ARC.
No, I remember, but you and I, you had asked, I think it was me, and I forgot who else to edit or help you with the edits or something like that. I think it was me and Eduardo. And I was just wondering, is that the same thing or is this a totally new version of it?
I'm going to have to say this is a new version, but I
New
can't
version of
remember
it,
the
yeah.
old one.
Oh, you know what I'm talking about, right, Eduardo? Because you and I, you
Yeah,
took one
I
back.
know. I know exactly. I know exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Well,
this is a new version of it.
Yeah, I guess my
Okay.
answer would be, since the two of you have the old version, make sure the new one includes everything that I left out this
Everything.
time.
Yeah, the one I have is in Chinese, but it's close enough.
Well, I'll work on Korean next.
No, yeah,
Here,
I'd like to get the new one when it's available, that's
oh,
all.
yeah. What it's about in my mind is that we've talked a lot about what you're supposedly going to do when the earthquake occurs. But what I included in this document is, hey, if suppose you're net control, what would you say? And actually walk you through what you would, all the things you would need to say are now scripted in this document.
Right.
And
Right.
where you record the information, I created some forms and used them, the forms that were already in place. Mostly this is trying to create a path that you can follow that makes sense to all of you. And that's really the point I'm trying to make, is I want to hear from all of you. If there's any part that doesn't make sense or any part that needs more information of any kind, I want to hear about it, because it's our document and I'm writing it so that you can pick it up in the emergency, and everything you wish you knew should be in here. So
I think there was last night, Larry, there was that discussion with Phil. There may be a need, I don't know, I haven't read your new version, obviously, but there may be a need to just have a paragraph. I thought he made a good point about that they can kind of cover the health and welfare of the tank itself, but they don't have eyes and ears on where the tank flows and what the 70 miles of pipe where they might be going. So we might want to at some point alert people that as you're cruising around near a water tank or whatever, that you make sure you're not sinking in the mud.
that was something that caught my attention also. And what we have in this document presently is instructions up to the point where you're surveying. There's going to be, I hope, a rather significant section, including input from all of you, about what you should be looking for when you're doing the infrastructure survey, what you can see from the road, what you cannot see from the road, and what it looks like if you're looking at it. Because there are some infrastructure places that are not obvious. And the comment last night, I thought very important, was that his point was, when we put the pipes in 75 years ago, it was just open field. And now there are houses all around these pipes,
Oh,
and they're cast iron and can very easily fail during an earthquake in places nobody expects it to happen. So the starting message is when you're doing an infrastructure survey, it isn't just looking at the water tanks, it's looking at the fields nearby and other places where that kind of a water spout might be appearing. The pressures they're talking about could make some very dramatic water spouts
Oh, yeah.
in the middle of somebody's backyard, for instance.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the things we want to add into the critical infrastructure survey notes are people constantly go to, I forget which one of the water tanks is, but you can't get anywhere near it. And what we should be putting on the critical infrastructure survey is, by the way, you can't get anywhere near it. You know, all you need to do is to check for water flowing down the road nearby.
Yeah, that's
right?
pretty.
Which is different than like the Neary tank right near my house. I can walk up around and see both of the tanks. So, you know, I could do a visual inspection of water leaking and whether the flexible coupling he was talking about yesterday was seriously leaking, whether the antenna had fallen down, because the Neary tank is much more available than some of the other tanks.
Yeah, I noticed when we were doing some surveys that some of the tanks you can just see down the edge of a hill, and it's not really something you're going to want to go trying to crawl down to. And after shocks of an earthquake, it may very well be crawling.
Exactly.
I think this is what I'm hearing from all of you is exactly what I'd like to have you email to me so that we can start putting together what I would call part 2 of this revised manual, so that we actually, when we're done with it, it should make everyone comfortable that when the earthquake comes, they have something that's going to tell them virtually every step they go through and how to talk to people and how to report what you've learned, and also what not to worry about looking for, or hey, I can't find it. Well, that's you're not alone type message. So I welcome any of that. I got it out to the group that was originally part of our, we've had 3 or 4 different evenings where we've done recon. So the binders are available for them. I'm working on getting prints of all of this to hand out to everyone else who wants a copy. And we have, as I mentioned in my earlier email to the people that are picking them up, got a circular driveway, and it's very easy to have you drive by the front door and I hand you a folder. So let's work on that. What I want to do next week is it's focused on recon. I'd like to actually walk through this document with you and start really looking at it and saying, yeah, hey, that's going to work, or I don't know that I can do that, or whatever combination comes out of our discussion.
It would be good if you can actually check the stuff that I just shared with you, and I sent you an email on it too, because I've gone through Zone 2 or Route 2 of all 10 of them, and I couldn't find one of them actually, but all 9 of them, like Dave says, you cannot get into it at all because they have a chain link or a chain put around with a lock, and I took pictures of it. So anyway, when you get it, and Dave also, you get it too, and Victoria, I think, you know, look at it because all the names have changed.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately what I would like to see for the infrastructure, particularly is, as Dave and you have both commented, if you come to infrastructure location X, and it isn't obvious, it's not right in front of your nose, and there are a couple that overpower you up in the hills off of Mora Drive. Um, those that, all of the questionable ones, there'll be an item in the description saying, and understand this is what you're going to see and what you should do. I like Dave's comment about actually having that information available in the binder. Yes, Drew?
Right.
Yeah, one thing I pointed out to Eduardo, as you guys know, Bob was on the water board for 16 years. And so I spent a lot of time at meetings and talking to them privately, but there's a real concern with all agencies that have those kinds of infrastructure facilities that we don't do a lot of publicity and identification about them for security purposes. So we shouldn't publish, photos and things like that would be not such a good idea. All of the tanks are secured for, so that they can't be, so they can't be invaded. And so just be really cautious about how much, visually, or so that the general public doesn't really have, there's a privacy issue is what I'm trying to say. Okay.
Real quick,
You're right. My question would be, if I have a photograph that I have taken from my car, isn't that, that would be all, I think.
Well, no, I'm saying that there's, you're saying, well, it's hard to access them. There's a reason why it's hard to access them. It's because they're secured, but we shouldn't say, oh, here's, right over here is where you drop the bad thing for the water tank. Cause, there's a lot of vulnerabilities with our water system, anybody's water system, whether it's a lake or it's a tank or it's a bunch of pipes. So I'm just pointing out that we need to be prudent about, what we need for our purposes and not, be too sharing with it.
No, I agree with that. I think that's the sort of thing ultimately that is part of the editing and reviewing process that I'm proposing we go through. But I think the example that sticks in my mind is chasing back and forth trying to find a tank that was on the other side of the hill I was looking at. The fence around it had a trail beside it with no signs, of course.
No signs at all.
And so here is a point where I would have said, look for water in the street. Don't go trying to climb up the hill in the middle of an earthquake.
Right.
That's the level that I think we're talking about. Denise, you were about trying to say something? Denise?
I just wanted to agree with Drew. There is a component of terrorism focuses on water supply. So we do want to stay very superficial. If there is a fence, a gate, we don't need to climb it to assess it. The water district will be doing that. So having, those what Phil really would like is the boots on the ground looking for those pipes that have broken, where you're seeing, mushy fields, because their first priority is to go out and inspect their tanks. They have people that is their job. They're on call and whatnot. They can't look at all 70, whatever miles of piping that they have. I don't know how many miles it is, but.
Yeah, that's the point I was realizing after I listened last night. And I think what we might end up doing is refocusing our discussion about the tanks, as I was looking for last night, on looking for flooded roads as a focus near any of these tanks. Certainly there are some that are very inaccessible, and I'm pushing windshield survey. If you have to walk to the tank, I would leave it. I would be, after last night's comments, much more concerned about fountains of water spiking up from the ground where the 75-year-old cast iron pipes are failing. So for that, I would say, let's start putting together what the information that we think collectively is going to be useful, and then evaluate how much. We'll certainly go back and ask, is this going to meet what we need and still not cause any heartburn from officials that certainly when I'd ask the water company to look at what we've said, and if they say, please don't say that, we certainly won't.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think Phil would be more than happy to have somebody take a look at that section, anything that deals with Prisma Hills Water or Cal Water for that matter, have a sign
Yeah.
off that we're good with, this document before, because it is an infrastructure issue and there is a part of security to that. So thank
Yeah,
you.
this is
Perfect.
one of the challenges that's going to occur, not just with water district places. It's occurred already in one of the recon drills we had when our team went into Fort Clear, the religious location, and was immediately cornered by the manager of the location. Who are you? Why are you here? Type questions. Until our team said, we're here because we're supporting the fire. Oh, you're supporting the fire?
Fire department.
Welcome. And the real point is, of course, until, and especially after an earthquake, we're going to have to be very focused on diplomacy and being sure that if we enter some area, we enter it carefully and politely and with major advertising of who we are.
I've
But-
heard those new vests will get yourself into a lot of places that you couldn't get to before. So I've heard through the grapevine.
Well, I think that's
Throw that vest on and you can go anywhere. That's your magic key now.
I believe it. And the real key here is that it's one thing, we were already being questioned in what I think of as peacetime. 10 minutes after an earthquake, there's going to be an awful lot of stressed people in town. And so, to summarize what I'm saying is, I hope this document that we're putting, and I say we're putting together, not just me, but what I hope to have when we get done with it is sufficient that once I don't know about you, but I have figured all these things out when I'm sitting in my easy chair. Then you hit me with an earthquake. And if I don't have this all written down with, you do type part A, part B, part C, I'm in trouble. And so I'd like this document to be one which is very, very clear. You do this, then you do that. And if you want to be net control, here is the script already written for you, and here's what you're supposed to do with the information you get. And I know there'll be gaps, but the whole point of this is to make sure that everyone who reads this and uses it finds it fulfilling the questions they had when they started saying, geez, what do I do now? Enough said for tonight, but Victoria, I think it brings up a point I wanted to reach out to you with. I think we're going to need to make a fair number more copies of this package that we're talking about. Lessons, because I think we're going to get more people involved than we originally thought. I hope so, because this ultimately, the bottom line is the more people of our town that are knowledgeable about what they can do in the instance after an earthquake. And most people want to find someone to tell what's happened. This gives them an opportunity to not only tell people what's happened, but make a useful contribution to the solution by advising it to people who can do something.
I agree. Sure. As long as I find a faster copy machine, I'll make as many copies as you guys want.
Yeah, that's right. That's an option for sure.
I think I found the slowest one in Los Altos for sure. Hands down.
Victoria, you might try, when I did our quick reference guide some years back, I just went down to FedEx. There's one at Page Mill, and they don't charge you very much, and you can just have a candy bar or something and wait for it.
Or 2 candy bars.
2 candy bars. Yeah, you can have 2 candy bars, Victoria.
Victoria, if you find the printer goes unusually slow, it's usually just a setting where they does it super precise quality and it goes very, very slow. But usually it's a fast setting and you can't barely tell the difference, but except that the papers come out 5 times as fast.
Yeah, I
Hey.
thought about that, but everybody else's was going slow too, and I thought, oh, they have it set on there for a reason, I'm sure. So they capture all of the copiers. So if you want a slow copy machine, you have time to kick it, then go to Office Depot on what was that? Where was I, Larry? Magdalena, the end of Magdalena? I don't know.
Yes,
Just
right.
yeah, it was
I
and there
saw you coming.
I thought I was gonna die.
It's because they want to sell you candy and all the other stuff there because they want you to spend longer there.
Well, the paper ran out once, the punch thing got full once, and so I had to keep going over there. And I'm like, my God, I'm going to be here for hours. It was not fun. Yes, Mr. Steve.
You need to unmute, Steve,
Yeah.
or retry your mic. You're unmuted, but you're not coming through.
Mic volume is down. Is that better?
That
Yes.
much better. Thank you, Steve.
Much better.
Okay. I have a cheaper copy service that I use for my business that you just email them the documents and they will deliver for free, and it's cheaper than FedEx.
Oh, yeah.
I can give you the information offline.
That would be fabulous. Thank you so much.
And they do
Thank
color and
for all that. Yes, thank you. Thank you for all your hard work
Yeah.
on Larry. It's much appreciated. Thank you
Absolutely.
for your input too. And Shell, thank you. I will keep that in mind for my next go around, which hopefully because of Steve, I won't have to. Real quick on Arc Refresh. I think now that we know we can refresh ourselves, we're gonna hit it hard. So Steve, anything you want to update anybody on? I know we've kind of got most of the bins relabeled. He did a fabulous, awesome job on the labeling the bins. I think now we're on to like what's too heavy type thing, moving them around maybe. What did we decide to do with that?
Yeah, well, we got, I think 80% of the bins are now relabeled. We discovered some that weren't inventoried, so we took care of that. And so within another 5 minutes, we can substitute those labels. A bigger thing is there's a lot of heavy bins that are high up that don't have to be.
Yeah.
And so it'd be nice to move those down so that anybody can access them.
Yeah. We kind of pretty much went through every single one and sort of did a Janice and Victoria test on each bin and what we thought would be, light or heavy or medium. So I think that would be good. Steve, why
We
don't
put a
you
little mark on each bin that says
yeah,
LH or
each bin, yeah.
so you can just
So-
look at it and go, oh, well, maybe somebody else should take this one down.
Yeah, so I think we can go back out there and do some moving around. That would be some more sign making and whatnot. So whenever you feel like you have some time, Steve, just hit me up and give me some dates and we'll get them out to people. I think as soon as we can get these the generators moving on the trailers, we're pretty solid on most of that stuff getting refreshed. So we're almost there. We're 80%.
I think what I'll do is, I could meet you there and I'll just write down what the weights are and then I'll go figure it out. We'll come back with new labels.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. I think John and I are going to go, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, and go try and mess around with the generators around 10 o'clock. So if you can make it, then great.
On Saturday mornings, but
yeah, you're more Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do Sunday. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
So just hit me up and we'll chat offline. All right. Well, we have come to the end of our agenda items. Does anyone have anything to add or they want to discuss? It's nice seeing you, Doris. I don't get to see you very often on these, so thank you for joining us tonight. It's awesome to see you. Sam, I know you've been very stealth, but I see that you're here too. So hi, Sam. I guess he's just going to stay stealth. Okay, that's totally fine. I totally get it. All right, awesome. So next weekend will be, or not weekend.
Thank you.
Hi, Sam. There you are.
Finally, I found the mute button.
Yay. Okay, awesome. Awesome. Not a minute too late. Okay, so next training will be next week. Larry, we're going to probably go over more of the stuff we found on Recon, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yep, awesome. Okay, well, we all look like we could use some shut-eye. So with that being said, I bid you all good night.
For. You sleep
What was that? What'd
you
you
missed
say?
your sleep opportunity. We had the debates tonight.
I know, right? Darn it. All right, awesome. Well, thank you all, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you again for stepping up
Good
for us.
night.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right.
Bye.
Good night.